I went from a small town farm boy, got an engineering degree, moved to Houston, Texas, and started my energy career at that point in time. But I haven't forgotten my roots, and I try to get back there often to stay grounded.
And how was your switch between bank to the energy company? Maybe different culture?
That was a bit of a transition for me, going from a pipeline and more of a producer environment to a trading environment. You know, first time I ever saw a grown man throw a phone. And it wasn't
Your go-to leadership style in 2 words.
optimism and lead by example.
For example, I think
Yeah.
humbleness, like
Yes.
that doesn't go with the titles.
That's right.
You should respect everyone, irrespective of their titles. One key takeaway for our listeners.
I think be willing and amenable to reinventing yourself. Always open for new ideas.
This is the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show, where we are going to invite industry leaders to talk about their journeys and also technologies of tomorrow, in an effort to break some of the biases that might have formed around this energy industry. Hello, everyone. I hope you're happy and healthy. I'm Anand Jha, and you are listening to the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show. Today, I'm very happy because we will be joined by Keith Shoemaker, a respected leader in the energy trading and strategy. He has long history of driving commercial operations at equity and beyond. Keith is also known for challenging status quo and dealing with complex decision-making in this energy industry. So with that, get ready for real talk on leadership, growth, and breaking bias in oil and gas. Welcome, Keith. I'm happy to have you here today.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you so much. We met before and we had a brief discussion, so I thought it good to bring your journey so we can all learn from it. So without any further delay, Keith, as we discussed before, can you please talk about your journey? Very interesting journey that started from bank and the energy. It covers a lot. So it would be very, 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 very tough to hit each and every part. But I would really appreciate if you can talk about your journey and some of the challenges, opportunities, and biases that you might have hit.
So I started my career back in a small town in Pennsylvania in Bradford County, which just happened to be sitting on top of the huge Marcellus natural gas field and basin. So little did I know back then that we were not going to be importing LNG into the U.S. for very long, but rather we would become an exporter. So that's where it all started for me. I grew up in this small town and was really involved in my grandfather's dairy farm. So I went from a small town farm boy, got an engineering degree, moved to Houston, Texas, and started my energy career at that point in time. But I haven't forgotten my roots, and I try to get back there often to stay grounded. And then I think it's just an interesting evolution. Me personally, from an engineer from a small town to an energy leader and traveling the world. So it's been an exciting ride, and it's not over yet.
But very, very interesting. As I said, like you have a very interesting career. You also work with the banks and the trading, and then now you're at EQT. So talk about that transition.
So started out as an engineer, but it was at a time when the energy and the natural gas industry in the U.S. was going through a transition. Deregulation was occurring in the mid to late 80s. And so having started out with Interstate Pipeline, Tennessee Gas Pipeline, I saw this opportunity where this is going to become a commodity. Natural gas is going to be a commodity and start trading. So I said, I think I want to do more than just engineering. The industry needs engineers, but I was drawn to the commercial and the trading side from there. So I made that jump early in my career, and the rest is kind of a long story, but it's been pretty exciting. But that's kind of how I transitioned from engineering, and it was a really good foundation. But made the move to Louis Dreyfus in Wilton, Connecticut after about 8 years in Houston. And from there, learned commodities and fundamental analysis. So that became the foundation to my trading career.
And how was the transition from engineering role to this trading? Did you hit any biases about yourself and or people might have about you?
I think people respected the experience from the pipeline side of it as an engineer, and that lent itself to really understanding how the product flows and how the infrastructure works. So it's pretty common for engineers to move into the trading and commercial side of it. So really no bias is there, none whatsoever, really.
That's good to know. But that's good to know
Yeah.
because there's so many people who are listening to this podcast. We always have bias. Like if I'm doing this role, that role, I'm not sure how I will be accepted, how well I'm able to execute. But the point you're making here, like the learnings you have in one role can be helpful or should be helpful any other role and that you are looking for.
Yes, I agree. And it's served me well having that background in the field and having worked along the pipeline as an engineer and then going from there to trading. You know how the product's moved, you know how the pipe's built, how it's operated. So you're not purely approaching it from the financial side.
And
Yeah.
and how was your switch between bank to the energy company? Maybe different culture.
Yes. So started with Louis Dreyfus, which is, a grain trading company that's steeped in history and tradition. So that was a bit of uh, uh, a transition for me going from a pipeline and more of a producer environment to a trading environment. First time I ever saw a grown man throw a phone. And it wasn't me. Or I saw a grown man, a seasoned professional belittle a young recent college graduate. So the culture on a trading floor is
It's
so
more
different.
pressurized
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. So I experienced that for a few companies in the trading field before I moved to the banking side. And then in the banking side, you're in most cases still on a trading desk, but you have a customer, opportunity there to do business with customers. So then you couldn't be as demanding from your customers if you're trying to provide them with risk management solutions. Culturally, they're all different. All the banks are different. JP Morgan for 3 years has a unique culture. And then BNP Paribas for 6 years has a very unique culture, being European and French. That I learned a lot from, more about culture of organizations than the industry itself. And then I went from there to Rice Energy back in 2014. And then I took what I had learned and developed as an energy trader to a producer, and felt like that skill set would help Rice and then EQT really um, protect the risk that they had in their portfolio
Makes
and,
sense.
and maximize the value of it. So I think it's been an exciting journey, but it's not over yet.
And also it's a full circle, starting with the energy company, then you went out with the trading, with the banks and everything else, and then coming back to the energy company again. So then that skill set, like you're kept adding new skills to your basket.
Yes. And I think one of the things or bits of advice I could give people is don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. I mean, just look at the horizon out there. And if you see a opportunity that it doesn't exactly line up with your past, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, and with enough confidence in yourself that you'll land on your feet, take a chance. And I encourage people to do that.
I agree. And I have seen people who have done that, like they have challenged themselves and took the opportunities, which was like a little bit challenging. I think they have grown in their career and the business
Mhm.
instead of just sitting back, like in the safe environment. So I think again, it's a good learning for all of the young professionals who's listening to it. Challenge yourself and look for those opportunities because every time you challenge yourself, you learn something new. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Definitely. No, that's great. Just switching the topic here is about the industry. So you have seen this industry very closely. And how do you see the shift in last 1 or 2 decades? What are opportunities or challenges that industry is offering, and how can we come over it or make it big? If somebody's already part of this industry.
Yeah, I have participated in and observed the evolution and maturation of natural gas as a commodity. So you watch it from the beginning when it first started trading on the NYMEX. I was at Louis Dreyfus, and it took us 3 days to hedge a BCF of stored gas, So, I mean, that's how illiquid the market was in the beginning. So I've watched all these things over the last 20, 30, 40 years. But, and liquidity and transparency has increased. But at the same time, I see an intersection in front of us between energy as a source, natural gas as a source of energy for, for economic growth for countries and individuals. But I also see this intersection with a climate challenge out there.
Yes.
So I see that coming together, and I've never seen a challenge that the industry couldn't solve with either people or technology. So that's kind of what I see. I see that intersection of energy as a commodity, but also the environmental aspect of it as a necessary challenge that the industry needs to face and to overcome. And then it will become another product to trade in parallel with the actual BTUs themselves.
It makes sense, and it's very interesting. As you said, like we need energy, and that's what you see. Like especially the global production is increasing, our population is increasing. We will need more and more energy. But how many times have you heard like oil and gas is dead? We need something new. And any view on that?
I think the forms of energy that are used have changed over time, and they will continue to change. We'll continue to grow our renewable portfolios, but also the battery component of it for storage. That'll continue to grow. But I think natural gas is here to stay, and it'll provide that round the clock, reliability and security of supply. So um, that's how I look at the future of the energy business.
I fully agree. Sometimes we
Yeah,
call natural gas as a transition fuel, but I will say it's not a transition fuel. It's the fuel that's going to
right.
stay, and that's going to stay much longer than everybody is thinking or expecting. So that's how I see. So I think that's a good point. So if somebody in that journey of natural gas and oil, I think you don't have to worry about your career or your future. This industry has survived for long and is going to stay much longer than you and I.
Yeah,
So there are no worries. And one point you said is transitioning, like the form of energy that is bringing new technology, new opportunities every day.
I agree. The challenge with methane emissions and carbon intensity and carbon footprint, that is going to, like I said, the climate and the environmental attributes are going to be a part of decision making going forward,
Yes.
and and help, I think, solve the greenhouse gas problem and not just let it exist, and ignore it. I think that there are solutions out there.
And definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. So we are living in that world like everything should run in parallel. And there are many examples in recent times where lots of oil majors they totally shifted towards something else. Now they're coming back to the basics. So
Right.
that tells you like that immediate shift is not possible. It will happen, but with the gradual progression.
I agree. I mean, I think the change in administration here in the U.S. has lessened people's focus on the environmental
Yeah.
challenges, but responsible operators, companies like EQT, Expand, and others, you know, in 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 concert with the Environmental Defense Fund and MIQ and companies like that,
Yes.
they're going to continue to focus on bending the curve on greenhouse gas emissions.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting discussion. But coming back to your journey, as I said, like you had a very interesting journey. But if you're given a chance to relive your journey, what changes you might make?
I'm not sure if I would change too much. Probably when I was a trader, I would reflect on that I learned more from my bad trades than I did my good trades. So I think it's important to stay grounded and to be humble because you're not going to be right every time. And when you're not right, if you don't blow up or cause too much damage, you're going to take away some real, you know, learning experiences, learn from your bad trades. So I think if anything, I would be, I'd focus on that. And that's kind of broad, but at the same time, I think it's very important that, continue to evolve as far as your decision-making process.
How easy or tough it was? Like, if you win, then it's a different environment, correct? Like you have predicted something and you hit the bullseye. But if didn't go the way you were expecting, how tough it was on you as an individual?
I think that is a great question in such that you have to be somewhat resilient in your ability to bounce back from a bad trade, a bad day, a bad month, or even a bad year. And you're not going to be right every time. And people who say that they never had a bad trade or a bad year, they're not traders. They
Yes,
are
yes,
marketers or salesmen.
yes, yes.
They're talkers, but not doers. So I think that it's important to kind of stay grounded. And I think in a lot of cases with young traders, it's important to have a mentor, someone who's been through it before, whether it be in your own company, on your desk,
Or
or
outside.
even in the industry, is having that mentor that can say, yeah, I mean, you're down, you lost $1 million today, but do your homework. And if you like the position, get right back on the horse and ride it again. And if you don't like the position, cut your losses and get out. But I think that's a lot of the case, even in life, when you're choosing companies and people to go work with. If it didn't work out and you made the wrong decision, cut your losses and get out.
Get out.
One bit of advice I would give people is trust your gut.
Trust your
When
gut,
you're
right?
going through that process of, do I go to work for this guy or this company? Trust your gut.
I that you made a really good point. Sometimes we overanalyze, and we go if we go in that kind of zone, we never comes out, like we try to cover all the steps, all the aspects of that decision making. This overanalysis sometimes just bring you down, like you can't come over. But one thing you have made a point about this wrong decision making. You should not beat yourself to the death, and I used to do it. Like I'll say, now I have been in the industry for almost 20 years now. But when I was starting my career, yeah, everything should be the way I want, and sometimes it doesn't go, then start to question, over analyzing it. But over the period, I have realized, like some days are good, some days are bad, and you have made a decision. Sometimes it brings you results, sometimes it doesn't, but you should move on,
Right.
move on. And you mentioned about the gut. I think gut, who is in this share market and trading, they know how important this is. Like you can do all the calculations, but it's all about the gut at the end, like to make final decision. I think and that goes. But this is very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Like the way you learn from this, like your professional life, but also you can apply on your personal life, and the relationship or whatever you have.
Yeah, I think people take cues from leaders in their company. So the way that an individual handles themselves, if they're having a bad trade or bad position, will set the right example for young people coming up, that it's okay to make a mistake and it's okay to recover from it and right the ship. So I think it's important that take your losses as a way to learn, a learning experience. Yeah,
This reminds me of one thing before we move into our next section. I have
sure.
read one book. I think it's called Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb. The guy who wrote Black Swan. He's a trader himself. And he was talking about when you win, then he's like, I was so intelligent. That's why I predicted everything.
Yeah.
And when you lose, then you say market was not great, like that decision was made by somebody else. And so that reminds me, like when you win, then it's like you're so intelligent. If you lose, then there is somebody else problem. But we should
No,
own both.
that's right. Own your wins, but certainly own your losses and learn
Losses.
and learn from them and learn from them.
Learn from them, definitely. It's
I think it's important to practice some form of humility, because if you're on a winning streak and the market thinks that you are making all the right calls, that's about the time right before you have a really bad run. Don't get caught up in your own success.
makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I know that. So with
Yeah.
that also brings us to our very interesting part of our discussion, which is called rapid fire round, Keith. And here I will ask you some question. And so let's see, how do you handle those questions? Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Shoot, I'm ready. Fire away.
Okay, let's see. A favorite way to kick off your day?
Reading and going to the gym.
Okay,
Yeah.
that helps definitely. And at what time you start your day?
Oh, I get up about 5:30 every morning.
I'm trying.
So
It's not easy.
yeah, I think it came from my working on Wall Street and living in Connecticut. So I had to get up early and go catch the train in, but I haven't been able to, uh, change that habit, and that's okay.
That's really good habit. Your first job?
My first job out of college was Tennessee Gas Pipeline, and my first job as a young person was on my grandfather's dairy farm.
A dairy farm.
So, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
A top commodity you enjoy working with the most?
Yeah, I would say natural gas.
Natural
It's
gas.
been in my, my career since the beginning. So I'd say natural gas. But now I'm looking at carbon as another product that is very important that can be traded alongside of energy.
So is there market shaping up to trade carbon?
There's voluntary markets which create a way to transact, but until I think it's mandatory in a compliance market, it's going to be difficult to really for it to catch on.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Your go-to leadership style in 2 words.
Optimism and lead by example.
By example, I think
Yeah.
that's very important. Like
Yes.
you can expect from everyone, but you have to show them how this can be done and how it should be. I think it's a
That is
perfect
correct.
best career lesson from your time at EQT or prior.
I think it's respect and having respect for everyone that you're working with and around. So I think that's one thing, whether it be the receptionist as you walk into the lobby or to the CEO and having that respect go
Yes.
down and up. And I think that sets the culture of an organization.
Yes.
And leadership is expected to set that.
That humbleness, like that
Yes,
doesn't go with the titles.
that's right.
You should respect everyone irrespective of their titles. That's a great way to put it. Last great book or article you read on strategy or markets?
On strategy or markets. I think, I tend to read a lot more books about history and not really about markets. And probably the best book that I've read so far this year was Kings and Soldiers. And it was about the plight of immigrants from Central America coming into the United States. So not about trading and not about commodities or anything like that, but it's more about just kind of learning about the rest of the world.
And
Yeah.
you learn a lot from that history. Like I have read that book long time ago. I think it's a Art of War. It's a Chinese book, but that book tells it's not about the war. It's about all the strategies.
Yeah.
And then they were using.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. An unexpected hobby or passion outside energy.
Live music. I really like hearing live music, and I've been involved in playing music for my entire life. It's kind of like my side passion. And someday maybe I'll get into a band and get to play on the weekends or something like that.
Oh, that's
That's probably
amazing.
yeah, yeah,
Totally different.
yeah, totally different. Yeah,
And what instruments do you play?
I played the trumpet.
Trumpet. Okay,
So
interesting.
any band that has a horn section, Tedeschi truck, Sturgill Simpson, stuff like that, I love.
This is really, really great.
Yeah.
And last not the least, name one historical figure you would grab dinner with.
Historical figure I would grab dinner with. It would probably be Teddy Roosevelt, who was the president in the United States, early 1900s. He
Okay.
took over from McKinley. So I just think he was pretty bold in his decisions that he made. He was a big one of the first environmentalists, but at the same time, he had a lot of adversity in his life, even though he had a storied, he came from a lot of money and opportunity. He still
Yes.
was able to succeed, during adversity. So Teddy Roosevelt.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting. Keith, you have answered all those questions really, really well, and in the quick time, you were able to uncover a lot. Your passion on music to the history. And also, as you mentioned, there's always opportunity to learn. And one thing you have underlined, and that's also I like to highlight, is humbleness and kindness, and that goes long way.
I agree. And you don't see a lot of that in the trading business.
No.
Like my experiences on the trading desk for the first time, 35, 40 years ago, there was not a lot of humility or kindness. So that's one of the things that stuck with me through the years.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. Like you have answered all the questions really, really well. So with that, we'll move to last two key things, that I want to know from you. If you have to summarize the whole journey and all the learnings you had in the past as a one key takeaway for our listeners, what that would be?
I think be willing and amenable to reinventing yourself. As the market and the industry that you're in evolves and it changes and becomes more efficient, more, tech savvy or whatever, be willing to reinvent yourself, to evolve professionally. So
Makes sense.
yeah,
Always open for new ideas.
always open for new ideas, whether it be AI or, climate issues. Yeah.
Definitely climate change technologies. And so there are a lot to explore, a lot to invent yourself. But
Yes.
that's a good way to put it. And last not the least, this show is about breaking bias. What one bias that still exists in the industry, and how can we come over it?
I think the bias facing this industry is that all fossil fuels are bad. And it's not the fossil fuels that are bad, it's the impact to carbon and the greenhouse gas problem. So I think focusing on the problem and embracing technology and as a way to solve that problem is important. So that's breaking the bias is to focus on the problem and to not talk over your opponent, but talk to them so that we can solve the problem together.
Together. And that's make
Yeah,
perfect sense. And I was like, let's have a seat on the table. Like
exactly.
you can say whatever you want, but are you part of solution or just making all the noise? So
Exactly.
that's always great. Like, really really great way to put this one. So with that, we are coming to the end. As I said, like your journey, it would be very hard to summarize in these 30 minutes, but a lot to learn from you, Keith. Really appreciate your time. Before we sign off, anything to say?
I think that for a young person who's thinking about going into the energy business, don't be turned off by what you read and the social media, everything, but take a chance and learn about the opportunities there because you, as a young person or a person entering this industry, can make a difference.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you can make a
Yes,
big difference. Definitely.
exactly.
So with that, thank you so much, Keith. I'm signing off for this week. Keep listening. Oil and Gas Breaking by Show. See you next week. Thank you.